Do you want to build wealth through single family and multifamily properties? I'm going to show you how. What's up, everyone? I'm Madden, and today I want to dive into kind of building wealth through single family and multifamily properties, right? So building that rental portfolio. I'm a real estate investor myself. I have 32 doors. So I've kind of been in the rental market game for a few years now. And there's a few different ways you can build your real estate portfolio. There's the very traditional way where if you have a primary residence and you know you're not going to be living in the house that you're looking to buy, a single family residence is going to require 20% down in investment, where a multifamily is going to require 25% down. So that might be a little steep for someone who's just starting out or just starting to get into the real estate, investing game. So one other way to do it is the low down payment route, right? So that's FHA, for example, allows 3.5% down as a primary residence. It's a nice way to get into a single family or multifamily because FHA does allow for 3.5% down on a two family if it's your primary residence. So you have to live there as your primary residence for at least a year. But it's a nice way to kind of start building your portfolio that way. The other thing you can do too is if you want to go the conventional route on a single family, for example, you can do the 3 or 5% down and live in that house for a year and then repeat that template, right? So you live there, do what you got to do to the house, make it livable, and then you keep it and you move on to the next one. And the next house that you buy is the one that you live in. And then you just keep repeating that until you have a big enough portfolio where now you're starting to build equity, right? And now maybe you can pull some cash out and either buy a bigger property, maybe you go the commercial route, or maybe you buy a 4-unit. So by pulling equity, what I mean is, let's say you have 3 properties. They've increased in value, you've paid down the loan quite a bit. Then what you can do is you can refinance each property. And you're not going to do a rate term refinance, which I've talked about in a previous video. You're going to be doing what's called a cash out refinance. So you're going to pull cash out on each one separately. Once you have that money, that you turn the equity into cash, that cash then can become part of the down payment on the next house you want to buy, or that bigger property, that 4-unit that I mentioned. So you've made the decision now to move forward and kind of build your rental portfolio. So now you're going to be a landlord. So now you're managing not just your own residence, but now you're responsible for all these other properties and how all these other people live. You want to make sure that you screen your tenants the right way. And there's plenty of online platforms out there where you can screen tenants, do background checks, credit checks. The one important thing to look for on credit checks, for example, is maybe not necessarily the credit score per se, but late payments. The other part you want to probably think about too is what areas you want to rent in. Are you trying to target students? Are you going to try and target young professionals? You're going to target families? All that kind of plays into what your game plan is, right? So if you're trying to target families, it probably might make sense to target single family homes because families are going to be they want to be in a good school district. They want to be, have a yard for their kids to play in. Maybe it's probably more in the suburbs, where if you are trying to get, more young professionals, we have an area in Syracuse, New York called Tip Hill, right? And that's where a lot of young professionals live. There's a lot of multifamilies there, but the yards, there's no yard, right? Because you're in the city. But it's a great neighborhood for the young professionals. There's bars, there's nightlife, there's just stuff to do. So you kind of have to think about what clientele do you want to rent to? Which kind of route do you want to take? The other big thing to think about if you're being a landlord is any maintenance issues or anything that pops up or happens to the house is on you to fix. If you live in the city or around the area that you have rental properties, it kind of makes it easier. It probably doesn't make sense to have a property manager. As long as you're comfortable with receiving calls oftentimes on nights and weekends when something does go wrong. If there's a busted hot water tank, if the furnace goes, if there's a leaky roof or a leaky faucet, all those calls are going to go to you, and it's on you to either fix them yourself or hire out a maintenance person to take care of that repair for you. If you are out of state and you're not anywhere near the property you're investing in, it probably makes sense to have a property management company. What they'll do is they'll take all the calls for you, they manage the property for you, they lease it out for you. They're a great asset to have if you're not in the area, or if you're not able to get to the property in a timely fashion. So if you have any questions on rental properties, if you're thinking about maybe you want to start investing in real estate, or you kind of just want to ask some questions, click the link below. I'm happy to help answer any questions you might have.